Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinderblock Studios, and I'm back with another quick tip for watercolorists. So whether you're new to watercolors or you've been working with them for a long time, there's something that you may not have considered, and that is the quality of your paper. Now, I talked about this a little bit in my Everything You Need to Know About Watercolors video, but I feel like it's worth mentioning again. And that's, put simply, you can cheap it out on brushes and watercolor paint kind of as much as you want. But the paper is the one thing that kind of changes the properties and working properties of your paint a little bit. So I have the start of a couple of pieces here. I'm going to hold them up, I guess, about like this. Both of these were made with roughly the same colors, but one of them, as you can see here, has much richer, bolder, and more vibrant color. And the difference here, mostly, is the quality of the paper we're talking about here. Now, there is actually quite a bit of difference between these two papers. This is 140-pound Canson XL watercolor paper. I actually really like this paper. This stuff, it's a really good economical choice, and it's a really good choice just for learning the medium and stuff like that. I actually use this paper in particular when I'm making my watercolor bookmarks because it's thick enough that it kind of feels right for a bookmark, but it's not going to be taking up too much of your book and causing damage to the books you're reading. And it's really kind of accepts the color and accepts a lot more than just watercolor media. It accepts a lot of pencil very well. A lot of times I'm doing chalk overlays as well as inks or acrylic. So it really allows me to play with mixed media stuff as long as I'm kind of careful about how much I'm adding to that paper. Now this is 300-pound Arches rough watercolor paper. So we're talking about a different surface texture as well. This is cold pressed. It's a little bit smoother, at least than this is. This is sort of the standard texture what you might expect out of watercolor paper. This has a lot more texture to it. It's sort of it feels like it's actual pressed paper, not just something that comes in a big roll that they slice and then mount in a pad. Because, well, this has a deckled edge, so it probably is a nice pressed piece of paper anyway. The difference, again, not just in thickness, not just in texture, but is exactly what the same colors do on on two different papers. So the two corners that are touching, this lower right and left hand corners of these papers, that particular section was painted with the exact same color. It is not a high quality watercolor. It is, I think, an old Winsor Newton Cotman, which are decent, but they're still student grade paint. And what is interesting, I find, is that the color vibrancy is so different. It is so different. Now, I'm not specifically saying that this paper is better. They're two different looks. They're two different levels of visual style, both of which I think are very valid. In many cases, I actually do prefer this paper because the way that I use watercolors lends itself to more washed out, transparent colors. But this, for maybe a landscape or a portrait or really any kind of watercolor painting you're doing that goes beyond just simple abstract shapes, is a lot more valuable in my opinion. So if you're looking for a paper, whether this be something like Arches or Canson makes a nice high-end one. I don't remember the name. I'll stick it in somewhere. But I find that it's very interesting to see how a single color performs so differently on different types of paper. So the concluding tip I would say for this quick tip is when you're working with watercolors, it's important to know what both types of paper do, what cheaper paper does, and what more expensive paper does, and choosing your paper wisely in order to achieve the look that you want to achieve, as well as using your colors effectively to, in this case, achieve a brighter, more saturated color versus a more desaturated color, using simply your same paints. You don't have to change the way you paint, you just have to change the paper that you're using in order to achieve that different look. So if you learned something here, hit the like button, get subscribed if you're not already. And this has been from Cinderblock Studios. See you guys next time.